Right, this is PhD student. Today is the 19th of June 2018. So I've been helping PhD students for many years, and I also teach part-time in university. The title of this video is What are two common mistakes PhD students make? So the first common mistake is that PhD students often plan their journey based on their master's experience. There's an enormous difference between studying for a master's and studying for a PhD. A master's program designed to confine the student within relatively narrow parameters. Essentially, they are continually monitored and graded via their assignments, which they write probably weekly. And even when writing a thesis, they progress through specific designated tasks. So it's fairly regulated and confined. However, a PhD student is almost narrowed down to a solitary confinement. In other words, they're not really regulated as such. They have to go it alone. And although a caveat is that although in the initial stages or milestones, the PhD students often required to complete similar, although probably more difficult, weekly assignments similar to their master's experience. However, when they gain the sufficient credits they need to enter the second major phase of their PhD program, this is when the wheels come off. This is when things start to go really wrong. Because up to that point is often weekly assignments, they're graded, and everything is fairly okay. It's relatively easy. So in the second major phase is when a PhD student begins to construct the framework for the PhD dissertation proposal. Here's where the research really begins. It's at this point that most PhD students contact me after failing this stage of the PhD program. In other words, chapter 1. Often they've contacted me after paying in thousands of dollars to retake this part of the PhD program. It's such a pity. So are you stuck right now? Have you hit a roadblock? Are you stressed out? If you are stressed out, or you have a serious problem, or you just can't get any further on down the road, just click on my website link below. My advice is free. One common mistake that students make during the graduate school is that they assume they have the same skills and talents which they had leveraged to complete their master's program. In other words, the same skills they used throughout their master's program and before that simply don't work anymore in the PhD program. You see, after completing the early PhD stages, which are often weekly assignments, as we've noted, students may then view the program as relatively easy. Well, it was until that point. But then here's the thing. They're right, it was easier. But let's put it this way. It was easy, and it's certainly easier than when their dissertation proposal begins. That's the big problem. When the dissertation proposal begins, that's when they hit the roadblock, because they're on their own, and that's when stress and all sorts of other psychological problems set in. The second common mistake is that the PhD student does not have the experience or the know-how in how to select their supervisor. This is critical, that the PhD student chooses a supervisor at the dissertation proposal stage who has both the experience and commitment to support the student. Support the student through this really critical part of the PhD journey. And based on years working alongside PhD students, I believe that at this stage, this is the number one cause of failure. It's why the PhD student often quits, just gives up. Is that where you are right now? You're thinking of quitting? Don't quit. Hang in there. Listen, my friend. Identifying and constructing a research problem which fits within PhD criteria is surprisingly simple if you follow PhD guidelines. If you're experiencing problems creating this research problem and completing chapter 1, why not contact me for free advice via my website below? Here's a second common mistake. The PhD student must have a strong relationship or chemistry with their supervisor. Often this is not the case. Students from the US or Europe normally don't have any hang-ups when it comes to changing their supervisors. It's kind of easier for them. But foreign students do sometimes have this problem. In other words, if they perceive or they believe that the relationship is not strong or they don't have that chemistry with the supervisor, they don't take the initiative and change the supervisor or request change. Why is this? It's because many foreign students come from different cultural backgrounds. Let's take Asian students. They tend to be more polite, less demanding, right? It's their culture. So Asian PhD students tend to accept the supervisor allocated to them. When relationship problems arise between the student and the supervisor, the Asian PhD student will often blame themselves. They really blame themselves. It's a cultural default. Therefore, the two common mistakes PhD students make are, one, regarding inadequate planning of their PhD because they base it on previous academic experiences, which, to be honest with you, are not really relevant when it comes to the PhD. It's a whole new ballgame. They assume their PhD is the natural follow-on from their masters. It's not. Of course, there are numerous other problematic issues which are commonly associated with a PhD. But the failure to identify and address these two common mistakes greatly reduces the chance of a PhD students making it over the finishing line. Most PhD students who fail or quit a PhD do not do so because of insufficient skill sets or lack of ability. It's usually due to inadequate preparation and also a compromised psychological framework. In other words, they're unprepared psychologically. This may all sound negative and disheartening, for which I apologize. But this is really important. It's really important for the PhD student who is either considering entering a PhD program or who has already started their PhD program to look for external help if they're not getting help from within their program or from the university itself, or if they're not getting sufficient help. There's a wealth of help out there. I argue that most readers or most listeners considering a PhD already possess the ability and talent to complete the PhD journey. They are just not sufficiently prepared. A PhD is commonly perceived as a lonely and stressful experience. It doesn't have to be that way, my friend. Contact me for free advice, click on my website, or just simply email me. It's that simple. I'm right here. It's what I do. I just love helping PhD students. So let's talk. So, my friend, in closing, and until the next time, thank you for watching. And until the next time, good night.